Welcome to Let's Talk Spokane, where host Ryan McNeice seeks out and discusses the latest on a variety of hot local topics. Now, here's your host, Ryan McNeice.
Welcome to Let's Talk Spokane. I'm Ryan McNeice, and we're here in the studio with Amber Jensen. Thank you for being here.
Hi, it's a pleasure.
Amber is the author of This Is Dirt. And the story behind this is the point of our conversation today, because I think there's quite a lead up to getting this written, involving your background and your desire to write this book. Amber, you grew up in Pierce, Idaho?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us how, as an author and a desire to be an author for a long, long time, how did this come about? Give us the process.
Essentially, the question as a writer was never, would I write a book? It was, I'm going to
drop that down a little bit even for you. There you go.
It was like, come on, pull out the stops and get it done.
Yeah.
And so...
and we all do that.
Yeah.
Even things we want to do, we procrastinate.
Yes. And a lot of people ask me just on the spot, like, what's your book about? And it's kind of a press because it's not really about the book itself. It's about getting it done. And there's several pieces in the book. So
by that you mean the substance of the book is in itself talking about working through roadblocks, working through struggles in life to move yourself down the road as to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and essentially seeing there's so many tiny pieces of things that stop us. That's kind of a little play on the title, is This Is Dirt. It's just all dirt. You can't just stop because of a little bit of dirt. You just have to keep pushing through.
That is in itself the title. Push that aside and keep moving.
It's just dirt.
What are things in your own life? You have 4 kids, married, live on a nice size spread here outside of Spokane. You have a lot of dirt,
We
actually.
do.
But tell me, in your own life, what are describe some of those challenges that you needed to push aside to get either this done or other things?
Well, honestly, it just, for me, came to breaking it down into sharing and really seeing that there was this thing that came up for me that I always felt alone. And I would write little pieces here and there, and I'd share them on social media and have
little excerpts.
Just little pieces. I just write, like a 300-word whatever about my kid playing, or a 300-word thing about after I had a baby. And all of these little pieces, I started seeing this common thread of other people expressing, you know what, I totally feel that, or oh my gosh, you're living my life, or you're my twin. And I tried that and it didn't work, or I want to aspire to do something. Or holy cow, I wish I could share that. Little things that people don't generally get vulnerable about because they do feel alone.
Right.
And I just started sharing, and the more I shared, the more I realized that I really wasn't alone. And not only that, but in sharing, I brought something for people that wasn't there, and it was that they're not alone either.
Right.
And so...
a real sense of engagement, and an opportunity to engage, because I think, as you're describing, there were these individuals out there that wanted to engage, but until you put your own stories out there, they might not have felt comfortable to do so. Yeah,
and sharing with their own network of people, being able to come out of dark places and just admit it, or I'm not doing so well right now, and that's okay.
Right.
And I'm not alone.
But I think you're actually making such an important point, because wouldn't you agree that on social media these days, depending on the platform, there might be a sense of, is this the person's real life that is being portrayed? But I think what you're doing in your book and otherwise is trying to portray a sense of reality.
Yes.
The real life.
Yeah,
dirt included.
Absolutely. And I have experienced, private messages of like, is this your highlight reel? Like, is this really life? And
That's
you know,
interesting.
I keep pieces to myself.
Right.
You know, I keep weird health things to myself, or some of my kids will have, you know, hardships in school and their own things that I feel to respect their privacy. I share my struggle with what I'm dealing with, but I don't want to overshare for them. Yeah, and you know, social media is kind of here to stay, and so, you know, when we put that out there, it could be there when they are old enough to have that come back on them. So, you know, there's things that I choose to keep to myself, but yeah, it's real, and I attempt to keep my sharing as real as possible.
Well, and thus far, with your sharing and engaging on social media platforms and getting this book out there, you've had a great response. You've had a great response from people really embracing that you're putting yourself out there, and also is fitting their needs as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the ability to get this published, how do you go about that, and what were the struggles and or successes with that?
I don't want to say that there's this universe that puts things in your place to get you through things, but I really do think that things happen at certain times to either have you solve a mystery for yourself. So
sure seems that way sometimes.
Yeah, at the time, last year I was working for Rainmaker Creative here in town, and they had a client, Rainmaker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know Rainmaker.
Oh yeah.
So I was working there, and they had a client that had self-published, and it just seemed like such a mystery, and I just didn't know. I was copywriting and doing stuff there, and things started getting shuffled onto my plate, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, looking at researching things to do anything with self-publishing. And so when it came time to figure out why this wasn't working or what was going on with this, it just fell to, you know, for me to figure it out. And so I was blessed with the opportunity and the patience from someone else to allow me the time to solve a mystery. And I knew that I had to do it right, and I had to do it well. And for myself, I wouldn't have given myself that grace. So
harder on yourself.
I would have quit, you know, or, oh gosh, this is really hard, and it's fine, I'll just do whatever.
I don't have time for this. Kids' issues are more important.
Oh, and it takes this and it takes that, and there's money, and
well, I think as you're describing again, it's the excuses.
Yeah,
it's
it
the
really
dirt that you need to push aside.
And so in watching that process, and I wasn't pivotal in the whole process. Most of it was already moving by the time I started working there.
But you had hands-on.
So I really got to see it working, and I got to ask questions that didn't have a consequence of, you know, answering. I wasn't going to be dumb if I didn't know, and I really saw that it wasn't as hard as I thought it was. And then when I made the commitment to myself to do it, I didn't have training wheels. I was actually transitioning out of working there, so I had to do it on my own, and it was just a lot of learning. I had to solve a lot of mysteries.
But wouldn't you agree that as you get further down that process, and you've described it well, that you were doing it essentially with patients for another client, you get further down that road and you kind of look back and think, well, gosh, I'm a lot further down than I thought, and what's out in front of me really isn't that difficult. It's almost like when you're looking to bite off the whole thing, it's too much. Piecemeal at a time, you're like, oh, we got this.
Yes, like how do you eat an elephant?
Exactly.
Just one bite at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was the process of it. And when I came to, okay, this is it. This is being done. It's all compiled. I can do this. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. It's just done. And
how long had you messed with it? If you were able to say, because I think you'd indicated that you've had piece of this on different flash drives and different hard
my
drives.
Blog even.
Okay.
I mean, if anybody wanted to search, they could find a good portion of the book on my blog, but it was just obscure and out there, and nobody really visited there.
Not consolidated, though.
No, and it was just a place for me to dump things. So it wasn't really.
And are you still actively writing the blog?
I do.
Well?
Yeah, I do.
Now, where would folks find you for that?
dirtroadhome.com.
Okay, so dirtroadhome.com. And before we forget to do that piece, where is the best place to find This Is Dirt?
The best place to find This Is Dirt
And look at that.
is on Amazon.com.
I love the I love the cover. That's great. Are these feet that we know?
Those are my children's feet.
Okay.
And this was a local designer in Spokane as well, and the interior is also. There's lots of things, like you have to have a designer do your interior work as well, which I did not know.
Yeah, but now you do.
But do, yeah.
Now the folks listening that want to write their own book know that as well. And look at that. Got the jacket on the back as well.
Yeah. And a local photographer took the pictures for my... Yeah, I tried to stay as much...
Do you want to throw out that name?
Yeah, Heather Jones for Ferraro Photography did that.
And you were saying some of the interior...
And the interior... Let's see. I want to make sure I get the name proper. Yeah, Contrast Design Studio did the design of both the inside and outside.
Well done.
Yeah.
So, tell me about the emotion once you knew it was complete. You've put all this together. You've aggregated it. It's been printed. The first time you received it, like I'm guessing it was sent to you. I had to proof it. Okay. So a proof comes from the printer, and I don't know, I like even just now it makes me choked up. Well, it's a big accomplishment. You'd been wanting to do it for a long time. You also it was probably heart of hearts didn't know if you're going to get there, because that's the whole point of the story.
Yes, it was a completion that I hadn't foreseen for myself. I think I really had it just set up that it just don't get your hopes up. It's not going to happen, even though I was driving the whole bus. Right. You know, there was nobody, like no publisher was going to stop me. No agent was going to stop me. I was going to do it. Which is so exciting about our era, I think, with the ability to self-publish, with the ability to promote via Amazon and other platforms. There really isn't somebody that's holding you back. No. Cliche, but you're right. You could hold yourself back. Your readers. Yeah. Because people will know when you put out whatever you put out, they're going to read it and they'll let you know. So that's the second piece of the like exposure. Yeah. Because I can have a proof in my hand, and I remember we did a video and unboxed it in my husband's truck, and it was like, this is real. It's real. This is real. But then you're right also, the day of reckoning, if you will, is what is the type of engagement going to be? I mean, let's be honest, you're putting yourself out there. Am I going to get a lot of criticism, constructive or otherwise, and it might hurt? Yeah, absolutely. And once you get outside of the field of like my mom, my sisters, my best friend, you know, the people, you know, once like you've sold 30 copies and you get into 50 and 60 and 70 and 80 and 100 copies, I don't know those people. Yeah. You know, and when somebody... You're like, I don't think mom bought that many copies. I know how many copies my mom bought. So, yeah, when I got my first phone call from someone who was like I would say maybe a shirt tail-ish acquaintance that, I mean, I had to say, who is this? That's fantastic. She was in her 80s, and she said, I looked you up on Facebook. But see, the channels of distribution in our new era of You're Your Own Broadcast Company. Yeah. Amber, let's take a short break and come right back and talk about This Is Dirt. Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful. It needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
The economy is getting stronger. Banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at homes4uspokane.com.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Spokane. I'm Ryan McNeice, and we've been discussing This Is Dirt with Amber Jensen. And this has been an exciting chronology of events to actually get this from in your head to blogging to vignettes you've put out on social media engaging with your audience, but to actually get this into a compilation of all your thoughts. What is the actual inspiration to make this happen?
I took on a phrase, do it anyway. And
I like that one.
I continue to, get stopped by all sorts of things. I mean,
Life.
Yeah, book number 2 isn't exactly writing itself. So, yeah, and I really just took on advice that I'd gotten from, a coach, and, friends can tell you got this, but sometimes it just takes taking one action, just one action. And after that, you don't always know what the next action is. And that's not the point. The point is just to take the next.
I think you're a perfect example. Family of, however you want to say it, family of 4 kids, husband, wife. Things come up daily, weekly. We all live probably incredibly busy lives. There's a whole multitude of excuses as to why you shouldn't write chapter 2, why you shouldn't write chapter 3. What kept you going? Why didn't you just quit? I
absolutely have answered this to people over and over since the book came out. Nobody asks me about the book in specifics. They ask how I did it. And so it's an odd thing. I would think that the questions would be, about the book, but more or less it's people that want to write, or people that want to do art or design or anything. And they want to know how I did it. What do I do first? How do I just don't have time to write. And honestly, sometimes I go and stalk their Facebook page, and I will take a copy and paste of their longest post and send it back to them in private messenger and say,
right now.
You just wrote 350 words about a dog.
But you said you don't have time to write, and yet they actually are.
Yeah, and I jokingly used to tell people most of that book was written while I was in the bathroom. Because it's the only time I could get peace. And sometimes I would go in the bathroom and sit down and nothing, just to sit and, on my phone. Most of that book was written on my phone.
Oh, really? Just like
literally with thumbs.
Two thumbs.
Yes.
I've watched my daughter text with the 2 thumbs. I'm blown away.
Yeah,
I'm a one
some
thumb
of it was
typer,
actually with one thumb with the older iPhones.
Okay.
On notes, and then came along pages. You could use that. And so there's the excuses no, I don't have a laptop. I don't have a...
Yeah,
no,
and
it doesn't work.
We can all do that. This is, and I think Seth Godin talks a lot about this concept that the time is never going to be right.
No.
Yeah, I'll write this next year, or I'll, as the artist you were talking about, I'll paint this painting next year, or I'll record this music next year. You kind of have to just do it now.
Absolutely, yeah. I had a medical blip happen at the end of last summer, and it really just everything kind of just whooshed together. Yeah, wow, I really wouldn't have done this. If this had happened, I'd be oh, I can't. I've got this thing happening. And so that little piece of medical puzzle information to me was more of a, forget it. I've got to do this.
Time is now.
I have to do this right now, or it's never going to be done. My kids won't have that.
But you said earlier, and I agree with you, that there are things that are placed in our lives that, like that particular issue you indicated, that take you to the next step.
Absolutely.
And had you not had that, you do kind of have to pause. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And speaking of people, you've had a lot of feedback thus far on social media, good feedback, good engagement with the book. Who demographic-wise, and that's maybe a little too broad, but who demographic-wise do you find that is really engaging with this book? And then who did you think was going to engage, and are those the same people? I
thought it would be me, not me, but women in their, late 20s to 40s, in the momming stage, maybe the toddler trenches, but also just the stage of life where your just head is down and you excuse the laundry, excuse your life, excuse your things, and then you're all of a sudden out of it, and your kids are doing their own thing, and you didn't do the things that you wanted to do. And so I thought that was really
you thought this is who this is really
this is who this is for. Yes. Yeah. And the really eye-opening thing for me is I've had a lot of feedback from older women who are reading this, one's my grandma, but then people that aren't my grandma, that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, more mature women that have been through their life and gone, like made it. Kids turned out, everything's great, but they're reflecting back on how they did momming and
maybe reflecting on what they did or didn't break through some of this dirt, if you will.
Absolutely. I've had some more well-seated mature women call or message me and say, you really helped me in that one piece actually get through my own sexual abuse. And I had no idea that would be available.
Yeah.
Some 65-year-old woman lets me know that something happened to her when she was 15 and now she gets it and she can move through that. Like, to me, that's like...
Well, it's pretty significant that a piece of the book is speaking to someone at such a valuable level. That's
a deep, intimate level to me to be able to... Like, I tell people I feel like when I see a picture of you with my book, that's a hug. Totally. I'm with you.
Well, you've made a difference. I mean, that's got to be massively motivating.
Absolutely. Like, I get humbled, choked up every time I get anybody contacts me, and I'm very much a person. And so, any bit of that sharing to me is a contribution to me as well. I mean,
do you feel like that type of engagement, as you've said, it really resonates with you, is powerful, means a lot to you? Do you foresee getting out there on maybe some type of book tour that's very tangible, that's not so much social media, although that would be utilized to maybe bring these people together, but a face-to-face where you're speaking and the crowd's right there, Q&A? Absolutely.
I set out for contribution and connection, and that was my ultimate goal, was just to contribute, and connect. And so... for me, like, all of this is just such a contribution to my own heart, and then to others, I know that I'm connecting with them, and I would love to see myself speaking. I actually had contacted a local paper where I came from and said, hey, my goal is to someday stand in my once high school gymnasium and give a speaking engagement on, whatever. You can do this and get out of here and do this and come back home. And buy that piece of property next to your grandparents' house. And nobody says you have to go to the city, and nobody says you have to leave.
Right.
Nobody says anything.
But a common thread that I think you're definitely touching on here is the sincerity of what you're doing. A lot of times we'll talk about this in my show, Business Talks, and here with Let's Talk Spokane, is that common factor of folks like yourself that you set out actually to do this for yourself. And I don't mean from a selfish standpoint, but rather... a sincerity and a passion for what you're doing, and because of that passion, look how it's affecting all these people around you, this engagement that you're finding. It's almost uncanny because it seems to almost be the common factor when people are doing things out of sincerity.
Yeah, what started as self-processing, of just writing something to get it out, then became, hey, I do that.
Right.
Hey, I feel that way. Hey, I thought I was the only one.
Yep.
And realizing, I kind of had built my own loneliness, by not sharing. And when you share even your deepest, weirdest things, there is almost always somebody just as weird.
Oh, yeah.
And just as, just as willing to go, hey, let's be weird friends.
Yep, just as real.
Yeah, I just love the word weird, because to me, weird is the new normal. Like, we say that, but yeah.
Well, I think this day and age, you have the ability to realize we're all humans. You said this a little bit ago. Hey, you're affected by either criticism or, quite frankly, on the other side, folks really saying this book, you're speaking to me, it's resonating with me. You're affected by that. Real emotions, real people interacting.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think your upbringing in Pierce, Idaho, smaller town, coming to Spokane, has that affected what's in this book?
I ran from being a small town girl, and then I ran back. I left there as soon as I possibly could, and gosh, I miss home.
Yeah.
And I feel like small towns have this ability to hold you and really like support you in ways you just don't even imagine until you're older, and you can look back and see, gosh, they were really that whole community had me. And so to me, I just want to build that in this kind of ether of social media and realness
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, and kind of step into this community that's being created by people. Some people don't have to share, some people do, and some people just read and some people don't. And we've all just kind of got our arms around each other, and that's just the connection for me, is feeling at home.
Well,
Like-
the beauty of social media, there's everything always cuts both ways, right? But the ability to not necessarily, for some people, not necessarily having to leave a small town, if we're going to use that symbolism, because they might be able to live and or engage through other folks like yourself that have left.
Mhm.
And kind of the cliche is sometimes you have to leave to be able to come back.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have the perspective of the small town or the true nature of why a small town, as you said, really envelops you
Yeah.
if you hadn't gone away.
Yeah,
that's
and
where
I-
you get that true perspective, I think.
Yeah, and it's not like I miss the geography of where I'm from.
Right.
You know, I do.
No, it's
There's
the
mountains,
feeling.
it's gorgeous, but the feeling of people really, like, every story you tell, you have to say the person's name, and nobody in the room knows but one, but everybody still says, you know, well, John was doing this, and to me that's, I don't know, I guess the original tagging,
Yeah.
where you,
Isn't that
where
funny,
you
the
just,
original tagging? In terms of family dynamics and the time that goes into this, again, 4 kids and a spouse as well, was the family supportive and you really making this happen for yourself?
my kids were not, no. I mean, but they have no idea,
Come
you
play
know.
with me.
Yeah, they live in a self world right now, and
Mhm.
so I really had to be in communication with them.
Thus
I
the
am-
hiding in the bathroom.
Yeah, and I would say, like, I am taking 15 minutes. Yeah, I used to set timers. I'm taking 15 minutes to write, and it would be maybe, you know, 50 to 100 words, and that was that. But I got 50 to 100 words more than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
And my husband, bless him, was probably more supportive than I was. I
Hmm.
mean, he was
You need to do this.
supportive to almost the, you know, pushing, like, what the heck, man? You know? What the heck?
Yeah, what's holding you back?
Yeah, why are you not seeing yourself the way I see you? So I actually got a lot from that in how I view others as well,
Mhm.
because you never really see yourself through the eyes of other people. So in putting everything out there, I got that it doesn't really matter the interpretation. People are going to see how they're going to see you.
Well,
So-
and again, what you've done a good job of explaining is if you sincerely do it out of passion for yourself, and you've done right by yourself in this book, it's resonating with people.
Yeah.
You've done it for the right reasons. Thank you so much, Amber, for joining us. This is Dirt, Amber Jensen. Amazon.
It's available on Amazon, just on Amazon right now.
Okay, just on Amazon, but easy enough to check it out. I do suggest that you do. I think you put your heart and soul into this. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to have you come back as the book starts to really resonate and distribute out there. I think you're going to have so much engagement. I'd love to hear more about kind of the communities, if you will,
Yeah.
that you're going to create by this book reaching the public. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Let's Talk Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask us a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Thanks for listening.